Federico, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have people like end customers here, like Fabrizio, and see that we are really happy to know that our software, our things make things better and makes effective savings, and it's always a pleasure to have customers. Thank you very much for coming. And the next presentation we have before coffee break will be our partner in UK, Gysin, which is presenting some of his efforts in UK to have Dexma with us. So, Gysin, thank you.
How do I change the slide?
Please, you can pass forward.
Right,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the invitation. Thank you for making sure that the conference was in English. Otherwise, I'd have stayed at home. So maybe it's not so good after all. Thanks to the previous speakers as well. Now, one of the problems with even being number 3 on the list is that you run the risk that half of what you were going to say has already been said by the previous presenters. So this may be a bit of a short presentation, none the worse for that probably. And what I want to talk to you about is our experience in the UK of being a Dexma partner and why that experience has been generally very positive, because the UK is quite a tough market. It's a difficult one for a new supplier, particularly an external new supplier, and the experience has been very good. So I want to talk to you a bit about that. Then I need to work out how to use this. Okay, so first of all, let's just tell you who we are. Okay, ElComponent is a UK Gold partner for Dexma, and we've been around quite a long time. And in that time, we have been responsible for installing our own sub-metering systems, and quite a lot of them. And historically, they've had site-based software, and the migration into the cloud is something that we needed some help with, and we've got that help from Dexma. So we have a lot of experience of what customers want, what they need, and so our requirements for cloud-based software were quite specific. We had some very clear ideas of what worked and what didn't work. Now, we're also market leaders in the UK in portable data loggers. That is a product that often feeds into sub-metering systems and M&T systems, because many users will start off with some portable loggers to establish what level of problem they have or establish an energy measurement program, which then feeds into a more sophisticated and more detailed project, which is to fit meters permanently and monitor them through an M&T software package. So again, we have an insight into how customers grow into the requirements for monitoring and targeting software. Okay, now a little bit about the UK market as well, because obviously there are a lot of differences between the European markets, never mind the world markets, but most of what is either happening or has happened in the UK is probably going to happen everywhere else at some point if it hasn't already done so. So the first thing about the UK is it is a mature market, and we have seen monitoring and targeting software packages since the late 1970s, really, certainly since the 1980s. Now, they were very different from what they are today, obviously, but it's fair to say that some of the core qualities of the software from 30 or 40 years ago, 35 years ago, is still current today. That also means we've got multiple providers in the UK. We've got plenty of places the customer can go for cloud-based energy management software. So for a provider like Dexma to make an impact suggests that that software is offering something else or something more or something better or something lower cost because the customer has a wide choice. We also have pretty advanced legislation, and that relates to carbon, it relates to renewables, it relates to sustainability, and also recycling. Now, most of that legislation is EU-based, but in many cases it is specific to the UK in the way that it is applied or the way that it is actually recognised. I won't go into any detail about other parts of Europe that don't recognise some of the EU legislation, because that would be controversial. But I will say that the legislation issues in the UK have several effects. First of all, they're a driver for software purchase, and in many ways they make the market stronger. But they also make it more difficult for the software to comply with what the customer wants to do, because there are specifics that the user needs to get out of the software that if it doesn't do it, they're not going to use it. And perhaps the other issue is that it's a driver towards a wider acceptance of energy management within businesses and organizations. And that's the key really to the subject of this presentation. Now, before I get into what I think the dashboard effect is, we just need to look at some energy management basics, and we've seen some of this in the presentations that we've already seen, so apologies if this is a little bit repetitive, but we need data to do basic energy management stuff. The waste elimination that my colleague talked about, he can't do without the data. You have to know what the consumption is and where it's being wasted before you can do anything about it. And you need data for demand optimization. If you're going to match your energy requirement or your demand to the supply and to the tariff, you need to know what it looks like. We heard a little bit about tariff optimization from the previous presenter. You can't do that unless you know the shape of the demand that you have. So you need the data for that as well. And if you're evaluating projects, whether they be how good your compressors are or how good your lighting is or any aspect of a project, you need the data to evaluate whether it's working or not, and we've obviously heard about that already this morning. Now, we need software basically for the same things. Waste elimination's a lot easier if you've got some software rather than just some data. If I give you an Excel spreadsheet or I give you a copy of Dexma, which one are you going to use to enhance your waste elimination program? You're going to jump straight to the Dexma software, I suggest, because the Excel spreadsheet is hard work. So the software makes that a lot easier. Demand optimization is a lot easier if you've got some decent software. Project evaluation, the same deal. But this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. If you want to increase employee awareness, and if you want to start trying to achieve behavioral change, you've got to have the software. The data on its own is no good to you. So the top three are, they make it easier. The bottom two, you have to have it. And that's the crucial difference. That's what's changed in M&T software in the last 10 years. It's no longer something that makes the job easier. It's now something you have to have if there are certain aspects of your energy management that you wish to carry out, predominantly involving your entire organization in improving performance and achieving best practice. So, the power of the dashboard. Maybe the Dexma dashboard, seeing as this is a Dexma event. Well, the first thing is it looks good. And it has to look good because we're dealing with an invited audience here. Nobody's going to look at it if it's hard work, because they're not being paid to look at it, they're being asked to look at it. So the first thing is it looks great. Now the next thing is it's totally portable. Now that totally portable is actually a hyperlink. So I think I might have to go over here and see if I can make it work. Hold on, need to put the glasses on now. Let me see. There we go. Let's just. This is a Mac, isn't it? I don't know how to use it. Yeah, it worked. I think so. Now, this is an example of a dashboard that we created using Dexma widgets. As you can see, it carries our brand, and it's got Dexma widgets that you know and recognize. And it has some other opportunities to select various different utilities and that kind of thing. And another example of the portability of the Dexma widget, I really don't know how to use a Mac. Hang on. I just want to... That's all right, I got it. Yeah. I just want to go to my own website. This is our own website. Now, if we scroll down, guess what you find? There's a Dexma widget on the left-hand side there, which is just telling everybody how much energy we've used so far today. You can see it's a fairly small office, but it also an hour earlier back home, so that's why we haven't used much energy so far today. And this portability of widgets, which sets the Dexma dashboard apart from its competitors, is a serious advantage. Because what it allows the user to do is to create a completely branded environment which looks how they want it to look with their company logo, their strategy, everything included in it, but it's a real-time energy dashboard. And so the portability of the widgets is one of the things that makes the Dexma dashboard head and shoulders above its competitors. Now I've just got to get back to the presentation, so hold on. You can do it?
Yeah.
Do you want to carry on and do the rest of it? So, that's right, fine. Okay, it looks different on here to what it looks on there. So, hey, right, okay, and the live nature of it is also important, and just worth saying here that good as the Dexma product is, we should also say that quality of data is absolutely crucial when you're attempting to involve your entire organization in energy awareness. Because as soon as anybody gets the idea that the data is not good, they lose interest very quickly. I'm not going to bother to look at that because it's rubbish. So bear in mind that even if you have the best software package, your data acquisition needs to be equally good. But the live update is an important element because something that doesn't change, always looks the same, is not going to attract the level of attention that you're looking for. And the other issue, which is one I'm still quite amazed by the number of cloud providers or providers of cloud-based software who limit the access to that software by charging the customer for the number of users they wish to have. That is pretty universal in the UK. Dexma are one of the very few companies who do not put access limits on the software. And clearly, if we're saying, well, we want to get everybody involved, everybody needs to be able to log in, or everybody needs to be able to see the screens. So any provider who says, well, you want another 100 users, I'm afraid that's another £1,000 a year per user, that's not going to work. So the unlimited access nature of the Dexma dashboard is another critical feature which we have found to be almost universal selling point in the UK. And of course, the fact that you can tailor it. Again, if you're looking for a wider involvement within your organizational business, you need to be able to target specifically a dashboard to a specific group of people. If you're a small business, maybe it's just one. But if you're a larger business, you will definitely need multi-level dashboards which are automatically accessed through the user's login credentials. So the system knows, I know who you are, I'm going to show you the dashboard that's relevant to you. So another critical feature. Okay. I can't remember what this slide's about. Oh yes, it's what actually happens if you have a dashboard effect. Well, we've already said you increase the awareness. What that means is that people have the opportunity to move from being part of the problem to part of the solution. And there's no question that people within an organization, when you're talking about energy management, are definitely part of the problem. And it could be as simple as not turning the lights out when you go home, or it could be not using production equipment in the most efficient way. There are numerous ways, limitless ways, in which people within an organization are a problem when it comes to energy management. So what the dashboard does is give them the opportunity to become part of the solution, to become aware, to start thinking about how their actions impact on your business. And that means they start to behave differently. They really do. That gets us closer to best practice, that gives us some savings, and we've seen savings in commercial premises of up to 20% purely through the involvement of the workforce in being responsible in the way they contribute to the energy management of the building. I'm not saying you could achieve that in most cases, but I am saying that savings do accrue from behavioural change, and it's the most difficult one to achieve. We can all change the lights for LEDs, that's easy. But getting people to behave differently is much more difficult. And I just wanted to sort of have a little bit of a chat about where this is applicable, because, okay, I think that it's actually applicable everywhere, and our experience is that it's applicable everywhere as well. And a major part of our business is universities, and universities, okay, they're a bit of a soft target because students at universities have a higher level of awareness of global warming and the future of the planet anyway. So they're a fairly good target. But if you give them the tools to get involved in an awareness and changing their behaviour, then they're much more likely to do it. But I admit they're a good target in the first place. And we've seen that at Bath University, Essex University, Westminster University, that's a London university, Cranfield, that's a technical university, which is entirely postgraduate. All of those universities have embraced Dexel and the dashboard approach. But as a contrast to that, let's look at manufacturing sites. Now, the guys who work in a foundry, melting brass and making plumbing equipment, generally speaking, these guys are not too concerned about the future of the planet. But I can tell you that if you give them a dashboard and you say, that's your performance in cost per kilogram of brass, and that's the team on the next shift, that's their performance, and it's better than yours, then all of a sudden the dashboard effect starts to work there as well. And it works because managing something like a brass foundry, running it efficiently, using the furnace correctly, matter of minutes in the process can make a huge difference to the energy that's consumed. Quarries, that's another one, generally not well known for their sympathy with global warming. Plastic moulding companies, very intensive labor, very intensive energy users, and plastic moulding machines are good targets for energy management. Using them correctly, just having a team who cares about how efficiently they're working can make a big difference. Same with compressors. I mean, compressors is a classic example. You can always get energy savings from compressors. You can always get them from plastic moulding, but you have to know that your efforts are being rewarded. Food processing, another one. And you'll be pleased to hear this, I think, is my last slide. Why does this actually matter? Well, as far as Dexma is concerned, the market is evolving, and the dashboard capability that they have now, everybody else is going to have next year or in a short time. So we need to ensure that this particular feature of the software is always advancing, always developing, always staying ahead of everybody else. Customers know what they want, particularly in the UK, I suspect. And they are demanding a good analysis package, everybody can do that. A good reporting package, everybody can do that. And a good dashboard, not everybody can do that. The data is working harder than ever. And we need to find more ways of making the data work harder. There must be some out there. I'm sure Joan will think of them. And first impressions are the lasting impressions. And very often the first impression you get of a monitoring and targeting software package is the dashboard. And if the dashboard looks good, hey, probably the rest of it's quite good too. So that's another reason why the dashboard is the shop window. Always needs to look good. It's the demonstration of the product which is most likely to be seen by most people. So I hope I made a reasonable first impression, because I know that'll be a lasting impression as well. And that's me done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bill. And now, as planned a little bit earlier, but we will proceed to the coffee break. So here outside you will have some coffee as well, some pastries, and yeah, a little bit break just to relax. Okay? So see you in a couple of minutes.